It's time for the 49ers Rush podcast. And here's your host, John Chapman.
All right, welcome to another episode of the 49ers Rush podcast. I'm your host, John Chapman, and boy, do I have some great news, as you probably already know. The 49ers now are in sole possession of first place in the NFC West. Thank you to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and probably, let's just be honest, Jared Goff looked awful. Definitely a horrible game for the Rams. It was over 90 points in the game, but it is comical whenever you constantly have to answer all these questions on Twitter or wherever else. Yeah, but who have we beaten? Who have we beaten? And that's a fair criticism. I get it, but the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a legit football team with that head coach, Bruce Arians, and the fact that they traveled all the way from Florida, to Cali and defeated them like they did. The Rams have some major question marks that they're going to have to get solved. Otherwise, they're going to be involved in a lot of these games. They've had a slow start after slow start after slow start, and it's starting to catch up with them because you can't always just have that late comeback. You can't rely on that. They're really looking like a non-complete football team, which is crazy whenever you look at the personnel that they all brought back, but they're not there. So lots of young players for sure, but they've got to change some things over there, and I could not be more excited. So a couple things that I want to talk about today. It's going to be a relatively quick episode, but I do want to jump into just what's happening around the NFL with all the other undefeateds. We don't have a lot of Niners news, and what to look forward this week because we've got a lot of stuff coming up. So let's go quickly through the rest of the undefeateds going into week 4 because things changed. First off, Seahawks versus the Cardinals was just horrible to watch. Those two teams are almost unwatchable. It was just a rough game, but the Cardinals still without a victory after 4 games. So our division's interesting because when you look at it, obviously 49ers in first place 3-0. Then you have the Rams and the Seahawks are both 3-1, and the Cardinals are 0-3-1 with a tie. You remember the tie that first week with the Detroit Lions. So our division is very, very top-heavy. We have more wins in our division than we do anywhere else in the NFL. So it's even though we haven't even played week 4 yet. So we'll just have to see what happens with that. Now, the other undefeateds, we just talked about the Rams game. They've got to fix some things. I hope it stays awful, obviously, as all 49ers fans do. We go into L.A. in 2 weeks. So we're off this week. Next Monday is our Monday Night Football game against the Browns, which, holy cow, they brought the thunder to the Ravens. Beat them 40-25. Nick Chubb rushes 20 times for 165 yards and 3 touchdowns. I'm excited to jump into their film and kind of see what some things that we can exploit because they're not a complete football team either. Most teams in the NFL aren't. It's hard in the salary cap era to address all those things, but our next 2 games, definitely not easy games. So we're going to find out real quick exactly how great this 49ers team is, and I think it's pretty great if we could just get rid of some of those mistakes. Now, the Packers lost on Thursday night to the Eagles. They were one of the other undefeated teams, so they're off of that list. The Chiefs beat the Lions, which the Lions technically were undefeated going into this game. They were 2-0-1. They didn't have any losses. That was an absolute blast of a game. The Chiefs are a scary, scary team because Patrick Mahomes accounted for 0 touchdowns today, yet they still managed to put up just incredible numbers and still get the win. 34 points on offense without a Patrick Mahomes passing touchdown, rushing touchdown, anything. That's scary stuff. The Patriots beat the Bills. Again, another terrible, terrible game. Patriots should have lost that game. They really should have, but all of the just incredibly dumb turnovers from Josh Allen And I'd be remiss if I didn't say it. Congratulations to Frank Gore, one of the greatest 49ers of all time for sure. Going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, but he passed 15,000 yards rushing, and he is only about 200 yards behind Barry Sanders to be third all time. Gosh, I love that guy. Can't believe he is still playing at 36 years young, but man, he put up over 100 yards against the number one rushing defense in the NFL, the Patriots. The kid looks good. I don't know why the hell the Bears are in a close game and they only give the ball to this guy 10 times and he rushes for over 100 yards, but yet you throw 5 turnovers, 5 interceptions. Like, come on, man. Understand what you have. Use that to your strength. Run Frank Gore more. I know he's old, but get him out there. And then the last undefeated that we can talk about is the Cowboys, who are playing right now as I am recording this. So if you are watching that game, throw in some updates. Hopefully the Cowboys are down 30-0 already. But that is going to leave us, as of this recording, there are 4 unbeatens heading into Week 5. So the Patriots, the Chiefs, the Cowboys, and yours truly, the 49ers. So there's some stuff out there that I do want to talk about real quick. If you guys have any questions, please feel free. Just tag me at John Chapman on the chat, and I will be jumping into that. Now, here's the thing. Lots of new stuff coming your way from 49ers Rush Podcast. As I announced last week, NinersRush.com is active. If you have not headed over there yet, you need to do so. We also have our very first articles up, and they are some good ones. We've got 2 new writers that are pumping out content, and it's great. Renato, he did an awesome, I know I messed up his name, sorry about that. He did a great article about the 49ers defense, just breaking down the stats and what is so different about this year over last year. And then, of course, we also had Nick. Keys to keep the winning streak going. Keys to keep building on success. So, again, head over there. Check out those 2 articles because there was a lot of stuff there. Really, really impressed with what these guys are doing. And if you're wanting to chip in and help with some writing, just reach out to me on email or on Twitter, 49ersRushPodcast@gmail.com. Would love to add some more people to the team. This thing's blowing up. It's a pretty legit website with a whole bunch of information on there. We want to turn this into your one-stop shop for all 49ers content and just make sure that we continue to have the most knowledgeable fan base out there. I really do think, I don't think it's close with any other fan bases. There's a lot of good podcasts out there too. Now, here we go. Here's a question. Did today's performance cause you to worry about our upcoming matchups? Now, here's the deal. You look at the NFL, and it's very, very simple. 1, you have to win at home. And any win on the road is everything. Okay, winning on the road. If you can go 500 on the road, usually you're going to be a playoff team. It's one of those just key statistics that just always seems to stand out. So the fact that we already have 2 road wins under our belt, that's wonderful news. We are going to have a home game, coming up this Monday Night Football game against the Browns. So am I worried about the Browns? Heck yes. Are they very, very dangerous? Unquestionably so. Do they have a lot of weaknesses? Yes. That offensive line, it's a bad matchup for them, the way that it's designed to go against our defense. So the key matchup in that game, even before you watch film, is their offensive line versus our defensive line. If we can get pressure on Baker Mayfield, it's all year he has looked very, very bad whenever he has pressure and it's up in his face. That's going to continue. You mean tell me we got Bosa that's actually going to have a few weeks rest, ready to go, finally fully healthy in his NFL career? You got D Ford, who again, he only played 16 snaps, but he impacted the game in such a huge way last week. Hopefully we can get his snap count up as well. The bye week, every time the bye week happens, you've got to be happy. I do hate the early one, but yeah, it's we've got a lot of things going right for us. Now, am I going to be surprised if we lose the next 2 games? It's the NFL. They're 2 quality teams. The Rams are legit. We have to go into LA and win. Can we do that? Hell yes, we can. In the past, I didn't feel too great about going up against the Rams just because we weren't near complete. The roster wasn't set. So I don't think that we're going to lose both of those, but man, if we can get 1 win out of these next 2, it's going to be playoffs or bust. And I think that's kind of where we are now. Again, teams that are 3-0 in the NFL, that's 75% chance of making the playoffs, which is gigantic. So a couple other things on here real quick. The Bears, Patriots, and the 49ers were the only teams to not give up a rushing touchdown. Did the Bears or Patriots give up a rushing touchdown? Yes, they both did. Dalvin Cook got a junk time touchdown against the Bears, and Josh Allen did a quarterback sneak for a rushing touchdown. So yes, that is correct. Niner by nature. The 49ers are the only team in the NFL that have not allowed a rushing touchdown so far. That is an incredible stat whenever you look at where we were 5 years ago, where we broke the record for the most rushing touchdowns allowed ever in the history of the NFL to now. This is something that we've got right here. There's some great things happening for sure. And if you guys have been following with our betting, we're going to continue that. I am actually working with my bookie and creating some extra stack bets for the 49ers games in particular. So I'm going to have some very specific stuff coming out for you soon. I'm really, really excited about this. But if you haven't already, which most of you guys have, and I appreciate all the support, people always ask, what's the best way to help this podcast keep growing? It's whenever we do have sponsors and stuff like my bookie, sign up with them and make sure you use our promo code because that helps the podcast. That allows us to buy better equipment, backdrops, computers, whatever else. All the money we make on this, we are pumping right back into the 49ers Rush podcast because, again, we want this to be professional. Maybe I should do some facial work so that you guys get a better view, something better to look at. But anyway, head over to mybookie.ag today. Use the promo code 49ers, 49ERS. If you do that, they match your initial deposit. And as I said, the betting on there is unbelievable. You can bet on everything from, all the sports are definitely covered, but what's my favorite thing about my bookie is it goes into detail. You can do parlay bets, you can do teaser bets, you can do all those over-unders, which we're going to highlight later on this week, but get as specific and in detail as you want. You can bet as much as you like, and you can even get on there and bet with fake money. You can see what it would be like to get a feel for it, and it doesn't cost you a dime. So head over there, mybookie.ag, use promo code 49ers, and remember they will match your initial deposit up to $1,000. So let's see here. Next question. Pat's helmet-to-helmet hit on the Bills, and there were no ejection. This is the thing. It's very, very... The initial call is huge. So, and this is kind of the way the NFL officiating system is going. And I don't like it, but it's what it is. If they don't call it right off the bat, it's kind of hard to go back and overturn that. We saw Burfict for the Raiders get ejected today. He's probably going to be suspended for a couple of games on that. That was a horrible call. But there's a helmet-to-helmet contact hit on every single play in the NFL. It's just what it is. Now, anytime it's against a quarterback, it's going to be so much more likely to result in an ejection because the NFL is concerned about safety, but they're even more concerned about their star players being out there because, again, if star players are out, quarterbacks, right, they are going to lose ratings. They're going to lose money. So I'm not trying to say the NFL doesn't care about player safety. It's not really ideal. It's a very violent sport. They care about stars' safety. So you're not going to have one of those things where it's going to be consistent. And you could see this in the college game as well. They're the ones that kind of introduced this idea 2 years ago. It's going to happen sometimes. We've got to keep reviewing these things, which I know it slows down the game, but you have to do it because whenever these guys get hurt, the only thing that is going to damage the NFL is injuries because that's going to force kids to stop playing at a younger age. That's going to take a lot of emphasis off of high school development, then college, all these things. It's the kind of trickle-up effect, if you will. So player safety has to be a bigger deal. I hate the ejections, but I totally get it. I love hard hits as much as anybody. I retweeted a thing out from Lawrence Taylor's highlights this morning on Twitter, and I freaking got chill bumps. I was so excited, but half of those hits, he would have been flagged or ejected. Things have changed, and I do think that the NFL does need to change. I wish it would be a little bit more of a consistent process, but the reffing this year is awful. It's been really, really, really bad. So, here we go. What does the Bucs beating the Rams communicate? It communicates that, man, I think it says a lot more about the Rams than I think it does about the Bucs. You have a team travel across 3 time zones and come into your house and put up, what did they score, 50-something points? I don't remember what the final score was. I do have it here, but that tells me your defense is a mess. You can't do that and be 55 points. If your defense is allowing that many points, something is wrong. And I'll say this: the Los Angeles Rams, talent-wise, it's top notch in the NFL, right? There's probably 3 to 4 teams that can match up with the depth that they have all the way across their roster. But the way that they play defense, it is feast or famine. They don't mind people. Like when you watch Marcus Peters get torched on a double move for a huge 50-yard touchdown by Mike Evans. That's who he is. He's always given up the most touchdowns, the most passing yards, all those things. But they can live with that because the very next drive, guess what happens? He gets a pick 6. So what they have to do is play a little bit more complementary football if they're going to want to return to the playoffs and, possibly a Super Bowl thing. I don't think that they're at that level. I don't think Jared Goff is that good, and he has been able to get by because Todd Gurley was playing at such a incredible level. Well, guess what? Todd Gurley's good. He's still very, very good. He might only be 85% of what he was, but if you don't have the elite rushing performance, then this offense is a little suspect. Yeah, they can throw the ball around like crazy, and if you look at the numbers that Goff did, I think he threw for almost 500 yards, but guess what? That is not the way to win a football game whenever you have a boom or bust defense. He threw the ball 68 times for 517 yards, but three interceptions. So, again, this says a lot about the Rams. Now, the Bucs, back to your question, the Bucs are a super hot fire or ice cold. They go the way Jameis Winston goes. And they could not get pressure on Jameis Winston, which is credible whenever you look at Aaron Donald. Like, he was nowhere around. Yes, he still had a great game. Yes, he's still probably the best player in the NFL. But if they can't generate pressure, then they're going to have a lot more performances like this because it all starts up front, and the biggest weakness on that team is outside edge presence. You could say Clay Matthews, he's very, very old. Yes, he is efficient, but he's not one of those guys that kind of strikes fear into anybody. So the Rams, they've got some major question marks. They really, really do. We'll have to kind of continue to see what happens, but, man, I'm excited about the 49ers heading down there in 2 weeks. All right, real quick. Last question before I jump off here. Do we like the most dominant team? Do we look like the most dominant team in our division without a doubt? If you look at if you take a step back and just kind of look at the NFL standings and point differential and all those things, it removes all of your bias because they're just cold, hard numbers. And so whenever you look at those numbers, it tells a crazy story. The 49ers, our point differential is great. We have, let's see here, we are 42 points over our opponents throughout those 3 games. So which puts us third best in the NFL. Only the Cowboys and the Patriots have better numbers. And so that tells you, obviously the huge blowout in week 2, that was a part of it, but we have consistently put up points. Consistently. And our defense is playing absolutely bonkers. So you look at obviously we are 3-0, which is great. But the fact that we are doing this consistently with a good offense, once we limit the turnovers, then yes, I do agree with you. But all throughout our division, there's major turnover problems, right? So the Rams, throws 3 interceptions today. Jared Goff does. The Seahawks, one of the most fumbling-prone running backs, Chris Carson, in the entire NFL. The Cardinals, good Lord, they don't know what the hell they're doing. They're not a good football team, and that system's not going to work. Let's see here. Yeah, how does that Bucs win look now? It looks great. It looks absolutely great. And I do really think that, again, we are very, very good position And this is the best case scenario if you were to script out what was going on for, the 2019 season. This is it. And we're doing it. So very, very excited. We've got a lot of content coming to you this week. Again, I'm going to have Eric Davis on the next podcast, hoping to record with him early this week. Really, really excited. One of my favorite players growing up, part of one of the best secondaries in the NFL history. So excited to talk to him and pick his brain on some things. We're trying to bring in some more guests for the 49ers Rush podcast, but lots of good stuff coming this week. We'll have our breakdown episode where we're going to, once I do all the film analysis for the Browns, and I'll do all my predictions and all that stuff there. So head over to NinersRush.com. Check out that website. There's a lot of good content on there, and I will be back with you guys soon. Stay strong, faithful.